In this demo, we will demonstrate the basic functionality of the OAuth 2 authorization server. It's going to include the demonstration of two flow, the client credential flow, and then resource owner credential flow. We're going to show the application server or a server, then the APIs that are basically registered to use this as a STS, and a client that needs to talk to this API. So it's a very simplified scenario that is going to demonstrate the purpose of this. So we're going to show how we are setting up this OAuth server. We're going to set up clients for application to service communication, and we're going to register this API as a client. We're going to request access tokens. We're going to actually call the API, and then we're going to validate the bearer tokens. So first place to start is this OAuth server here. It's very simple, very lean. It's implemented as as a bare bone middleware server, and we register it here on startup, and we going to first register. This is the follows the OAuth pattern. So we have clients, which are silicon computers. We have scopes, which is basically the kind of clients or APIs that are allowed to talk to the STS and get tokens. And then these are actual users that the clients are requesting the credentials on behalf. So we'll start with registering the API. So APIs are modeled as scopes, again, following the specifications of OAuth 2 protocol. And we register our APIs to be able to request tokens on behalf of it. And basically, this is done it's very simple. It's done here. And in this case, we just have one API. We'll call it API 1 scope. And then everything is in memory. We don't have any persistence right now, but this is very easily configurable. So our scope is registered here. Once we have the scope, then we can register our client, which is basically the machine-to-machine communication. And and in this demo, it's going to be registered for the API 1 scope. And so basically, again, it's very lean. It's done in this class here, and we're demonstrating two flows. So the first one we're going to demonstrate is where you have no humans involved. So basically, you don't care about who is actually in front of the computer. It's just simulating the client flow, and it's a client credential flow actually. And we're hard coding all the API keys for now because this is a very simple demonstration. Now, if we want to do the resource owner flow, we can actually register another client here in the same scope that is going to use the resource owner flow. And finally, we can register the users, which is going to be the users that are going to be executing, basically the users, the tokens for which the client is going to request. And in our case, we have a simple list in memory, but in the future, we will extend this by hitting the NetSuite authorization API. That will get the actual credential. They actually validate the user, and we're just going to pass him the password and the subject, and it's going to come back with all the tokens necessary, all the pieces of information necessary that's going to be packaged up in a token, and it's going to flow through eventually as it's going to flow eventually as a principal. It's going to be one of the claims. So going forward, this is pretty much it. So this is very lean, very simple middleware implementation of auth server. We are referencing um, least privileged NuGet package, which I mentioned to you before, which is this identity server by Dominic Baer. I've used his applications before, and he's very, very, very top in this industry. Next, we have our API, which is basically web application. In our case, it's going to be the Sitefinity front end. And again, it's very lean, very non-intrusive, is configured, again, as a piece of middleware that gets configured here. That's all you got to do. And basically, this guy is just pointing to our middleware, our OAuth server, which is going to be running on this port. In deployment case, we can discuss the topology of the network, but instead of this, it's going to be some kind of Azure address, cloud. It's going to be a cloud worker or whatever this thing is going to be running to, and that's it. And basically, once that's set up, this middleware set up, then we also say, okay, all the controllers require authorization, and then we can actually do that, with an authorized attribute on the controller side by the controller, just so only the ones that need credentials or claims and authentication will require the round trip to the STS server. But in our case, that middleware is going to pre-process the request, and when it actually hits the controller, that means we are already authorized, we got the tokens, we can say if we are, we can determine, depending on the claims that are inside of that token, we can determine which kind of flow we're doing, if we're a user, if we're a computer, and whatnot. And finally, you got the client that is going to do the double trip is basically this very simple console application that is going to get the token, request the token, and basically this client is trying to call our API, which is basically this web application here on this board. Okay, so let me show you this in actually run this thing. So we're gonna fire up our OAuth server. Again, it's very lean, very fast, implemented as a middleware. And then we're going to fire up our, this is going to be the site, this simulates Sitefinity, but this could be anybody who needs to authenticate, get tokens. And notice right now, if you try to go there, to our test controller, you get 401 because we're not passing the required tokens. And finally, notice this address here, 14869. This is where the client is going to get that information. And so let me run the client. Round trip to, so you can see it better. This is going to be a trip to the OAuth server to get the token. Got the token. Then it's going to be a round trip to the API, which is here, to actually do the call. I'm going to do the other one too. So do the call, come back, and you can see that the client hit the web API. The web API authenticated with STS. STS says, okay, this guy's good. Came back here, says, okay, this is a computer. This is the first flow. Second trip, got the token. Actually, the token is already there, was cached in memory, and here's your, just gonna show you what the token looks like. You got your access token, it's a bear, it's expiration, we can set the refresh tokens, all this stuff, but we're keeping it very simple to bare minimum. You hit the API. Again, you can see this double round trip. It goes here. This guy says the controller is saying I need to authorize. It goes to STS, STS says everything matches up, returns back here, comes back, and you can see that this is what the API renders. And this is a demonstration of both, only two flows, but again, we can, according to the specs, we can do many other flows accordingly. Thank you very much.